Now joining us to talk about San Diego State athletics is the athletic director, Jim Sterk. Jim, great to have you back on the show. How's life in Vegas?
Not too bad. I haven't made it there yet. I'm in New York, just ready to fly out.
Oh, hurry up.
So what are you doing in New York?
A little Big East meetings. They had a little action today, and the presidents and ADs met on a number of issues, and then heading to Vegas for the rest of the week.
Very nice. Hey, Jim, Steve Fisher, Beth Burns, both conference coaches of the year. I imagine there's a ton of pride right now in both programs.
Yeah, and the great thing is they support each other, and they're professionals, and they're very good at their craft, obviously, but they each learn from each other, and I'll tell you, she goes to school on what Steve does, and the staffs with Brian Dutcher as well, and there's a lot of good exchange and pride. I know Steve pointed to the banner that the women had hung before we, had to go to TCU and try to, extra motivation for them to bring a banner home. And so they were successful, and just, a lot of great things going on with two great people.
Jim, I always wonder, I don't really know this direct answer because I can go online and pretty much figure out the payout for college bowl games for football, but I always wonder how much money is there to be made from a basketball program in the postseason with postseason wins if you make it to a Sweet 16 in the Elite Eight or Final Four, something like that. I have an idea with football, but how much is there to be gained for a university and a conference with postseason wins in basketball?
Well, the NCAA, it's been quite a while now, has really, moved and diluted it. There isn't the $1 million free throw, if you will, but for the conference, it does. Each round that you advance, you earn a share, and that share is worth, I think, around $240,000 in the formula that they have. And so they, you accumulate shares, your conference does, by its members, and they then, the NCAA distributes based on that formula. And so if, we advanced, like the Big East last year had 8 teams in and quite a few advanced, they have a number of shares. It's worth a lot to all the teams, not just particularly the one that's participating. So you get your expenses paid, but then, down the road, your success pays off for the conference overall.
We're talking to Aztecs AD Jim Sterk on Extra Sports. Jim, on the men's side in the Mountain West Conference, it has been an incredible year, top to bottom. So much talent, great crowds. I know travel is tough, but there really is a buzz around the Mountain West Conference. With the jump to the Big East in football, obviously hoops is going to the Big West. Did you have any hesitation, any concerns about the Big West in basketball hurting the program?
Well, I think that, as we looked at it, Steve and I talked, extensively, and the president, and I think, the power shifts, if you will, from the Mountain West Conference to the Big West as far as the teams. There's really good teams in the Big West, and then some that aren't so good. But overall, I think, a ship, helps the rising tide or whatever. We can help the league, I think. But we had some tough games with Santa Barbara and Long Beach, and we can continue to have some non-conference games and some non-conference games with the Big East. I know in our meetings here, Georgetown, UConn, Temple, Memphis already reached out to play in basketball. So we can schedule those kind of games with our mixture of Pac-10, Pac-12 schools that we play, and mix them in. Maybe some West Coast Conference. We're talking about maybe a mid-league type of bracket buster games against the WCC, against BYU and Gonzaga, and those kinds of games. So I think we can enhance it and make it a very attractive season, and you add that to the TV exposure that we can get with ESPN and Fox and those kind of carriers. I think it really bodes well for the future for our program.
And Jim, like you said, you're on your way over to Vegas to check out the Mountain West Conference tournament for the men and women. When you go there, is there any type of responsibility towards the conference, or you have to do any presentations or dinners, or you just go there watching basketball as a fan, having a good time?
A lot of struggling, with the tight games and that. But we do have league meetings tomorrow. Our associate ADs in marketing area, in the operations, compliance, and then the athletic directors meet tomorrow as well. So there's some business going on, and then on tomorrow, and then after that it's just games, and then we have, a couple receptions, alumni receptions there, so it'll be a fun time.
You know what I think about also? I mean, you obviously have your hat in the Mountain West Conference. You are obviously dealing with the Big East stuff. Like you said, you're over there right now. Do you feel like you're spread thin? Can you give 100% of your attention to the Mountain West, be it you still are with them, although your university is about to make a major shift in two different directions?
That's a good point, and there's league meetings in the Mountain West Conference, the Big East, and the Big West, and already this spring I've been to each of those leagues, and we're getting more. So you do get spread. I think once a school makes a decision to go, the league is looking forward as opposed to backwards, and so decisions, for instance, the Mountain West Conference is probably going to talk about their merger with Conference USA, and they'll probably excuse me from those those parts of the meetings, but things like the next fall's football schedule, tweaks to that, then I'll be involved with that. But it's an awkward time. It's but an exciting time on other fronts.
San Diego State Athletic Director Jim Sterk, nice enough to join us here on Extra Sports. Jim, there was an article in the newspaper about an exit fee, and if the Mountain West Conference and Conference USA join forces, then who would you even owe a fee to? What do you anticipate when you eventually leave the MWC in terms of an exit fee?
Good question, Josh. That has yet to be determined. I would people smarter than me will, figure that out. But I was smart enough to raise the question. Because if we're all leaving the conference on the same day, then, there's, people would say, hey, maybe, no one should be paying any penalty. And the irony is BYU and Utah didn't pay anything, to leave last year. There was no exit fee, and so they just instituted that. And if the league's dissolving, then you could probably make a case for that. But that remains to be seen. But right now we're anticipating that we have to pay that.
And, Jim, I know I read an article not too long ago where there will be another Carrier Classic. They're looking to have it on the East Coast, and the San Diego State has been mentioned with it. But there's also some speculation that we may have another one of those type of things here next year as well, here in San Diego. So is San Diego State, are you really focusing on doing a Carrier Classic on the East Coast, or are you still looking to have one of those type of things here in San Diego?
Yeah, I think, we've been working with the Midway and the Sports Commission on having something in San Diego, and we're excited about that. And I think, hopefully in the next week or two we have an announcement on that. But that hopefully is coming together, and the promoter that had done it last year in San Diego, there's some issues, and he's invited a number of schools. I'm not sure if he has takers, so but there's some issues with that. So, but we're, Mac McDonald does a great job at the Midway, and they're excited to host something there, and so we want to be a part of that.
Hey, Jim, finally, before you go, as Tony Gwynn continues to recover from his surgery, any communication with the coach, any discussions about when Tony Gwynn could come back to Tony Gwynn Stadium?
I haven't in the last week or so, but he was supposed to come back and just visit for a short stop, and I haven't gotten word that I haven't heard a Tony Gwynn appearance because I've been out, but he's doing great, and he had expected, and the doctors thought, at least a month, and it's probably in another week we're getting close to that. So we'll see where we're at, shortly with that.
I guess.
But he's doing well. He's really appreciative of all the support and the outpouring of support, from the people of San Diego and across the country. And he's just a great guy, and so we're excited to get him back.
Without a doubt. So many great stories right now at San Diego State. Jim, always a pleasure to have you on the show. We know you're busy. We do appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.